It's about this scientific revolution that's taken place in the world of campaigns over the last decade. Two innovations that have given campaigns finally the tools, I think, to more rigorously, empirically understand what exactly is moving voters. The first being the introduction of field experiments, randomized trials that have come into politics from academia, from the social sciences, and the other from commercial marketing, all the new individual level data that campaigns have access to about you and their ability to statistically model predicting opinions that they think you will have, behaviors that they think you'll what they think you'll do and what they believe you'll think.
So, talk a little bit about how you trace the practical applications of this social science revolution through, a couple of, in some ways you start at the turn of the century, but even more recently, how did you see the applications kind of enter and what got you interested?
Yeah, so, political science has lagged behind many of the other social sciences in using field experiments, certainly behind psychology and economics. And so these two guys at Yale, Don Green and Alan Gerber, decide in 1998 that they're going to go out into the streets of New Haven and run an experiment. And it's a pretty radical thing to do in their discipline. They conceive a randomized controlled trial. So this is basically like a pharmaceutical trial, but they want to measure the effectiveness of basic political communications. So they're using voters as their guinea pigs. Instead of randomly assigning people to get drugs and placebos, they're giving them doses of political communication. Then you can go out and measure the individual impact that interaction had on somebody's likelihood of voting. So they work with the local League of Women Voters chapter in Connecticut, and they set up this nonpartisan Get Out the Vote drive, and they randomly assign voters in New Haven to get one of four reminders. A quarter of them get this GOTV reminder on a postcard. A quarter of them get it on a call from a paid call center. A quarter get a visit from a canvasser who's a grad student, and then there's a control group that gets nothing. And then afterwards, they can go back and they can see who voted and who didn't. So it turns out that the people who get the phone call see no increase in their likelihood of voting. The people who get the mail, there's a small but appreciable increase in turnout, and the people who get the in-person visit from the canvasser sees a significant jump in turnout. And so they have trouble getting this paper published in academic journals. They've made no meaningful theoretical contribution to any of the debates that occupy political scientists. I think in the book I describe it as embarrassingly practical. And yet people in the political world who tend not to pay a lot of attention to scholarly journals take note of this. There tend to be one of two reactions, right? There's, oh great, here are academics who have a scientifically credible tool for disentangling cause and effect in assessing the effectiveness of things that we encourage candidates to spend tens or hundreds of millions of dollars on every year. And then there's another reaction, which is the more popular one in the political profession, which is, oh no, academics have developed a scientifically credible tool for determining whether these things that we get campaigns to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on every year actually work. And so you get this sort of war of the consultants who are, the male guys are saying, give us some of the phone budget. And you get the sort of civil war among the specialties in politics. We get a small corner of people in campaigns who, in the political world, mostly on the left in the institutions in Washington, who think not only should we be paying attention to these experiments and learning from what they tell us about what works, but hey, we're out doing politics every day. Why don't we start running experiments of our own? And you start to see the development eventually of a really interesting collaborative research culture between academics, mostly political scientists, some behavioral psychologists and economists, and people are out doing the day-to-day work of trying to win votes. And that has sort of set the terms for how politics has learned from sort of empirical field work over the last decade.